People have tried globalism.
Globalism has been working.
I don't know about working. It depends on how you define working, but it definitely has. It definitely
fulfilling its intended purpose.
Yes, but not its fully intended purpose.
Its fully intended purpose. It's fulfilling.
Yeah, I know, but over time, right now, there's so many things that the globalists and elite people want us to do. They want us to be more locked down. I mean, just look at China and the United States, for example. Obviously, we can objectively say China was way more restrictive with COVID, but we still locked down. Certain states didn't, certain cities didn't, but the vast majority of the United States still locked its citizens down. And it wasn't as hardcore as in China when they were giving people their food through a little port
because they had the ability to turn off people's finances, and now they can do that with CBDC.
Yes. And we're not there yet, but
we're there. We are getting a pilot program for CBDC in New York right now.
I know that, but that's okay. I get that.
You're wrong.
That's just one place.
Own guns.
No, it's literally a pilot program. It's literally a pilot program for the entire program, because the New York the New York FinTech Innovation Lab was the one working with Accenture to build FedCoin to start with. That was what was the digital dollar project was. So
we looked at this.
So now the thing that was going to start it all off is now doing a pilot program. It's literally the whole country's thing.
Work.
It's already working. It's already.
I get it.
Working
It's in operation now, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be successful. And also, there's all different.
It's going to be successful.
Hundreds of different cryptocurrencies out there on decentralized exchanges that can offset this stuff. So I'm saying, even if you have the CBDC in New York City, even if you have the CBDC, right? Even if it goes fully operational, not just being tried, but it's every bank, every single bank in New York City adopts it.
It's not just New York City. It's New York in general.
I know. I'm just saying, New York, fine. The whole state of New York.
The New York Fed.
So, and they roll it out fully, and every bank's forced to, mandate it or whatever, or at least take part in it. There's still thousands of decentralized crypto exchanges right now that
Binance
need is a phone.
On the CCP. That doesn't mean that
I'm
you're going to get.
I'm not talking about Binance. Binance is not a decentralized exchange.
We're talking about cryptocurrency.
We'll use PancakeSwap.
PancakeSwap is The point is the centralized exchanges, i.e. Coinbase, i.e. FTX, i.e. Binance. They're all very fraudulent, and they're running Ponzi schemes. And everyone in crypto saw this right away. Anyone who knew anything about crypto knows that you invest in a decentralized exchange.
But either way, you're not investing in an exchange if it's decentralized. That's not how investment works.
I know that you're not investing in the exchange at all. You're investing.
You just said you invest in an exchange that's decentralized, so you really shouldn't say that if you don't mean it.
What did you say?
You said just now that you should invest in decentralized exchanges.
I'm yes, but not in the sense that they're public companies. Not in the sense that you can actually invest in the companies. You use the company's technology to then invest in yourself by using the decentralized technology to protect your finances away from CBDC.
Not invest in the exchange.
Well, I didn't mean invest like put money in there, but and invest your time. Put your stuff, put all of your money, or if you have crypto and other exchanges that are centralized, put it into the decentralized exchanges, because they're a lot different than the centralized exchanges, and the same malevolence can't be done there, and it will protect you against the CBDC.
How do you put your money in there if it's run from a CBDC and they know that you put it in there?
Okay, so what you're saying is essentially that in New York State or in any state that they're somehow, some way going to not only implement CBDC, not only voluntarily allow it, they're going to just force it to every citizen. And every citizen with full technological capabilities is somehow not going to be able. That's literally what happened in China. I know, but they gave up a lot of their control, and they gave up their entire foundation of their internet. That's where they went wrong. We haven't yet.
Well, but they can still access cryptocurrency. They just need to max their ports and use Snowflake.
Yes, absolutely. Especially with these centralized exchanges. I agree with you.
Well, and so some people will do that. And some people will use crypto to get around CBDC.
Yeah.
I think that eventually that will kill CBDC. That being said, in the short term, in the short term, yeah, the average person's just gonna accept this. Like
No,
they don't.
They want
they don't
stimmy.
know
Yes,
or
they
care.
will. They want fucking stimmy money, man. The average person accepted the stimmy money already.
I can give
They're
them
gonna do it again. They're gonna
that's
do
a little
it again.
different, though, don't you think? Okay, if
No,
New York
because
State
they're
starts
gonna do it
offering
again
free
in
money,
exchange for FedCoin.
okay, so yeah, I agree with you. If people are like, if they're going to offer people thousands of dollars in FedCoin, they're definitely going to take it without a doubt.
Yes,
but wait, it didn't work in Nigeria. Nigeria loves cryptocurrency. I know because I did cryptocurrency. I've done cryptocurrency presentations a lot. There were people from third world countries, because their dollar is so devalued because it's not the world reserve currency, who would come on Zoom, and I would talk to them and say, "Hey, here's the potential of this." Some of them
the IMF was writing articles on Nigeria's CBDC a year ago,
but it didn't work in Nigeria, and I know
it's already worked.
Adam N. Williams, who's an agorist, he's not for me voting or anything. That's my boy. Told me it didn't work in Nigeria. I believe him.
It's still there. It's worked.
Well, it being there doesn't mean it. It depends on really how you define work.
The fact that it exists doesn't mean that anyone
exactly.
Oh wow!
So real quick, guys.
It's still there means that it's not working. No, that's not true.
Listen, real quick.
It's efficient.
It's literally working right now.
So Jeremy, why don't we do this? Let's have you define what you mean by working, like exactly what you mean, and then after that. Because
I mean that it's a central way to control currency, and that it's been rolled out and successfully been working for over a year now.
What do you mean by working? Like, if you roll something out and it completely fails, does that mean that it's working?
It didn't completely fucking fail if it's there right now.
No, so if something's there on the market, that means it's completely successful. There's tons of products on the market. There's tons of products on the market that fail all day. They're still there. They're still losing money.
That's not how failed products work.
Yes.
If a product fails, it's not on the fucking market.
No, that's not true.
It is.
Tons of companies have terrible products on the market right now, and because
doesn't mean they failed.
Exactly.
They're on the market.
Yes, exactly.
They didn't fail.
To the eyes. Okay, so you're saying a product that no one buys or very little people buy. The company
no one buying if it's on the market.
So you're saying a product on the market, a product on the market
or not
has to get like I don't understand what you're saying. There's products on the market
or fucking not.
Wait.
People behave rationally.
Can you chill out for like 10 seconds? Like, here, just pop an Adderall or a beer or whatever. Look.
Adderall is meth. That's probably not a good idea.
That's the opposite of what he needs right now.
All right,
I need
I see what you're saying,
that if it's on the market, it hasn't fucking failed. Things that are on the market are still competing. That's how markets work.
Yes, exactly.
So it's still competing.
Yes,
but it's not.
Yes,
it hasn't been. It's not fully successful.
Yeah,
it's not like everyone has
one
in their home just preparing for products.
Year after year, it hasn't failed.
Okay, I'm not saying that it. I never said that it failed.
You did say it failed.
No, I never did. I said I'm comparing it to the product.
And we can see where you said it failed.
I never said it failed. I said the product failed. Yes, I was making a comparison, saying I never said that. I'm just trying to work out the definition of work. But I get it. It's on the market.
It's still there. It's still being used.
But by how many people?
Oh my fucking god. The whole fucking country, because if a country's currency collapses, it does too.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. Can I share? Here. Chill out. Can I share an article?
Go for it.
Okay. I think this is a reputable source. You can disagree with me or not. Am I able to share, Danny?
Danny, what the hell is your camera pointing at?
His dirty keyboard.
Okay. All right. So this is Bitcoin.com. I think they're a pretty good source. I'm going to really just get this real quick. Apathetic Nigerian lenders are frustrating the INERAs, which is their CBDC version adoption, because they're worried this could deprive them of a key revenue resource. And the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN governor, has said that the central bank is working on a channel, but they have lender apathy after describing lenders' unwillingness to promote the central bank digital currency CBDC as an apathy.
The lenders, not all of them, just the ones they're talking about, and just the ones that were already invested in the like alternative mobile banking system.
But only 700.
You're not including fucking context, yo. You're literally ignoring the first paragraph.
Can you? Okay. Here's the thing that I looked at: 700,000, because I read this before. Wallets have been downloaded. If we look at Nigeria's population, 700,000 wallets have been downloaded. There's 211.4 million. Would you consider that a success? 700,000.
Okay, shoot me this article because I'm going to show you where you're wrong.
All right.
Oh, yes, but I would agree with you that they're on the market and they're out there competing. That's I would fully agree with you on that.
I'm not like a financial director, or analyst. I look at stuff and I understand it from a technical perspective. And I said there's 700,000 wallets been downloaded in Nigeria. There's 4 million people there.
According to CBN, since launching the digital currency in Q4 of 2021, only 700 e-Naira wallets have been downloaded.
Correct.
Part of the reason for this is the fact that only account holders can open an e-Naira wallet. So then you have to look at how many account holders already fucking existed. And there weren't that goddamn many because it wasn't that prosperous a country. It was already a developing nation, and that's why the e-Naira worked so fucking well.
I don't think it worked well. Still.
If most of the people who have accounts have the wallet, then it works. Because it's already out-competing the existing currency and already out-moding it to be the new standard.
It is? Is that true? That the centralized currency is completely dominating everything else? I don't know if that's
if you have two fiat currencies, like an old one that's been discarded by the central bank and a new one that's been adopted by the central bank, yeah, the new one is obviously going to win.
And it did
in use, yeah.
So it did win in Nigeria, is what you're saying, essentially.
Yes, and that article fucking admits it. It just says that people who wanted to compete with that structure don't have confidence in it. Yeah, I don't have confidence in the CBDC either. I fucking hate it. Yeah. That doesn't mean it's not going to win. Holy shit!
I see what you're saying. Well, I wonder
the facts aren't on your side, Kareem.
I wonder if we can't find out.
Community's on the side.
I'm not too familiar with Nigeria's government, but how much of that was like, do this or you're going to go to jail? Like, how much of that was coerced versus how much was that threatened with violence? You know what I mean?
It doesn't matter to my point, because my point is that if that's the case, then they coerced its success. Central planning gets people intimidated into compliance. That's what China is doing right now, is resisting the compliance into which they have been. No, it hasn't fucking failed. They're deploying riot vehicles fucking now, arresting protesters, and they've been doing this for years. They had similar protests at the beginning of the fucking pandemic,
regimes always fail. Totalitarian regimes throughout what Jeremy's saying right now is essentially that they haven't, completed all of their goals. They haven't gone fully operational, but they're on the way there, and they've been doing it for a very long time. And the Chinese Communist Party, I don't know about the Nigeria circumstance, so I don't know the government. I don't know how tyrannical it is versus how many people use that currency versus decentralized. I know there's a crypto market there, but other than that, I don't know much about it. But with the CCP, this government over the last 50 years has essentially taken complete control of almost every aspect of the society. And the biggest one is the internet and technology, right? And the fact that every company that exists in China is at the behest of the state, meaning that if a company wants to do something, it might be allowed to do it, but if a company wants to do something that in any way is political or politically threatening to the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party will immediately shut that down. So they have a tight lock on dissent there. And I think what we're seeing now in China, it's hard for me to believe that this is going to lead to some total uprising. It's just because they've already, in my opinion, maintained so much control. They have control of too many different sectors to be beaten. Even if they're beaten, like let's just say there's a mass protest, let's say 100 million people all the people of the CCP get killed, even then, there's still this online virtual sort of lockdown going on there. And I don't know how you really break out of that.
All right. Listen, Mr. Sonic Frontiers, I refuse to lose to retards like Klaus Schwab and Yuval
He's not a
Harari.
retard if he's doing better at manipulating the world than fucking you are. You're a retard compared to him by that standard.
You know what? I'll defeat him through decentralization eventually. Because
but don't call him a retard, because underestimating your opponent is the real retarded bullshit.
I definitely don't think he's
Jesus
a retard.
Fucking Christ.
He's highly intelligent.
Whatever you want to call him. He's not a good person.
He's evil.
I don't get. Here's the thing I don't get. You, my boy Justin, who's cool, Adam, and everybody else, Larkin Rose, is like, okay, don't vote. Don't okay. I was at the polls. I was working. I was telling people to vote gold. That's not a great method in the agorist handbook.
You can do that if you want. I don't fucking care. I just think it's a mistake.
What about okay, fine. If we're not going to vote, the only other thing I can think of is to protest.
Yes.
Also
actually, just going to say, and I don't mean anything by this, for all the agents watching this stream, I don't mean anything by this, but hibiscus flowers are pretty.
Well, listen, I think, Kareem, what I think you're getting at is that it's clear that the Chinese people, the people of China, have the numbers game. They have that advantage.
Yes.
Right? They have that advantage.
CCP,
if they're unified. I think if the Chinese people are unified, I think they can pretty easily. And I'm just saying, hypothetically, if there was a protest, hypothetically, and there was violence, not that we want that, not that we want to encourage that, but if that were to happen, I think there's a strong possibility they could pretty much overtake the whole regime.
Well, keep in mind, you're allowed to say that you want violence as long as it's not a government like the U.S.
I don't want violence.
But what I want is...
You don't want violence. Okay, good.
Look, if you're violating the NAP, which is what the CCP is doing, you have the right to respond. I'm against indiscriminate uses of it, which they're not doing in America. So a peaceful divorce is a good idea here.
Yeah.
But
America's aggressive. America is just as aggressive as China. Holy shit.
No, they're not.
What do you mean by that? Aggressive, like geopolitically? Because it's pretty close. You could definitely make a case. Absolutely can make a case that America for the last 40 years has been way more powerful geopolitically. And what was the word you used?
By the numbers, we kill more people.
Yes, we've been in more wars. China hasn't been in a war.
We arrest a higher percentage of our population.
And regime change.
I'll say this. I think that I believe that all states, violate the NAP. Therefore, you are perfectly justified in defending yourself against any of them.
I agree.
I don't think violent revolution will go over very well in China. I do think that this is a significant development.
But wait. You believe in NAP, right, Harrison?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If your government locks you down and says we have a zero sickness policy and puts you literally in a cage and in these things, then you have the right to fight back. Here's the thing.
Absolutely.
I would say if someone's we all believe in the NAP here.
Right.
The CCP is violating the NAP. You go for it. Now, I would say in our case, it's a little bit different. What Katie Hobbs is stealing an election, to me, at least that's what I believe in your state. Katie Hobbs stole it. Whether you think Carrie Lake's a great revolutionary or not, I don't know. Some people think she is. Some people think she's just a TV personality who would kind of fall in line. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Blake Masters either, to be fair. I've heard
Blake Masters, that's whole.
I'd like to get Jeremy's opinion on that.
All right,
about Carrie Lake.
I think she's delivering the lines. I think she's doing exactly what she's told by the conservative donors that pat her pockets. Like,
pretty much.
Ultimately, she's saying exactly the same kinds of things that everybody else is saying, but she's saying them with tits.
Basically, she's just. It's very good packaging for the same old message.
It's good for certain people's packages, I'll tell you that.
I do think that she represents a pretty positive development in American politics because the right's open disdain for the corporate press, I think, is a good thing. that
because it's really good if we have disdain for the corporate press alongside anti-Semitism. That ended well in World War II.
Okay, but here's the thing. They're stealing an election from her. I don't think you should steal an election from somebody, even if you don't believe it.
All elections stolen.
Elections are stealing. That's
what
elections are.
I get it, but like there's ballot. Like, okay. But here's the problem. I guess for me and Harris.
You ever listen to Curtis Yarvin?
Dude, the rabbit hole never ends. It's just like when you think something's good, oh, this isn't that bad. It's like, no, it's horrible. Like everything is just rotten to the core. And the deeper you investigate, the more you find out that the systems are very corrupt.
If they're going to cheat in Maricopa County, if they're going to cheat in places, they will cheat when libertarians get more traction. And Democrats will come up above libertarians because they stuff a bunch of ballots. That's why. I don't care about the Trump MAGA stuff so much, but I do care if Democrats keep
libertarian dropped out over that.
Mark Victor, I don't agree with that, but still, if a libertarian,
that's fine. That's fine though. Wait, we're not the Libertarian Party will never gain enough traction to win statewide races in a three-way race. That's never going to happen. I don't care about the American election process. As long as my local election process is basically fair, which I mean, where I am, it's not. But like, I care. Like, I would prefer to focus on local races. The idea that like it doesn't matter if the libertarian votes get undercounted or something at in Maricopa County. I couldn't care less. That's not what the LP should be for.
I mean, ultimately, yes, we want to have local stuff and we want to get people in local positions. As most people in the Mises would say, it's easier to be in local positions and nullify the Fed than to be a federal government trying to nullify them there. That being said, if they keep continuously, cheating, then what they're going to do is just get their people in there. There'll be no chance of actually fighting back. You're just going to get
here's the thing.
That's what elections are for. If elections changed anything, we wouldn't have them.
And here's the thing, just to be super clear and fair to your side, the Libertarian Party is the party of principle. That's what really matters. And if it's not, then fuck yourself, Libertarian Party. So if it's the party of principle and you get in on principle, then great. If it's not the party of principle and you get in because you lack principle, then there's no difference between a libertarian or anybody else.
Then there was no point. Yeah.
Play the game, and if you lose, then admit it's rigged and shut up or get very loud against the system. That's how it works.
Well, I think
I'm getting loud by saying they're cheating. That's how I'm getting loud.
Listen.
Good, but then you realize that the whole thing is rigged, and you just oppose the whole thing, including the electoral process. And you put your time, money, and effort into tearing down the system structurally and foundationally. Woo! We did it. We're
YouTube has some new regulations on what you can say about elections, but I just want to get into this. No, it's okay.
My bad.
But anyways, the point is, I don't know enough about. It was
stolen by my everything bagel. I'm dealing with it.
I don't know all the details and the specifics of what's going on in Arizona, other than a few articles I read. So what is going on there? I genuinely ask if anyone here knows. I know that there's some weird stuff going on with ballots, but is it true that there might have been a chance that this election there was so much fraud that Kari Lake could have won? Because I genuinely don't know.
So in terms of just false votes, I have absolutely no idea. I do know that our attorney general is refusing to certify. So there's going to be a recount in Maricopa County. I have no idea what the results of that will be, but I should be updated because a bunch of Mises people are going to be the election supervisors for the LP there.
Really?
So,
that's good.
Yeah, I'll be able to give you guys sort of updates on that. But
what do you think personally? What do you think about it?
I think that there's widespread fraud by both sides in literally every election.
Gerrymandering.
But I think what really happened in Maricopa and why they're getting focused on so much is this election was run incredibly incompetently.
Yeah, it took how many days? We still don't even have a certification, which is crazy.
On a legal level, it may not have been a legitimate election because poll workers were telling voters to do things that would get their votes disqualified.
On purpose?
I don't know. I have no idea if it was on purpose.
So they were like telling them to like write on the ballot or something like that?
Poll workers were saying like, because the big thing was like a bunch of voting machines went down. So poll workers were saying like, oh, take your ballot to like other voting stations.
Oh.
But that's not actually a thing you can do. CNN and like most of the corporate press are reporting that didn't happen at all.
Well, I even saw like AP report something about the ballots, something about the machine shutting down and that there might have been some lost votes. Like that was like mainstream reporting. CNN's garbage.
So anybody who like, still had confidence in the election after that Biden-Trump thing where like the lines were like, yeah,
it was, I don't know how much of it's fraud and how much of it's just
incompetence.
The standard incompetence of a dying empire.
Yeah.
I also like I say, I don't really think that it matters that much in terms of like who wins the election because elections are stolen.
There's a razor that says overall, never attribute to malice. Can accurately be attributed to ignorance. And I do the opposite of that. I think if anything, it's the opposite.
I actually think that razor is generally pretty dumb and is used to cover up for a lot of malice. But
yes, without a doubt.
My general verdict on the election fraud narratives is that I don't actually care if the election was stolen or not, but I think it's a great thing that everyone thinks it was.
So, because it undermines elections and this quote system of democracy, right?
Yeah,
we're almost there.
People are. It gets people in that mindset that Rothbard talked about in Anatomy of the State, where they're no longer thinking like, oh, we are the government. It's a democracy. Like, these people represent us. Like, it gets people in like an individual versus the state mindset, which is exactly where we need them to be. So,
and you know what book also gets people in an like individual versus the state mindset? The Sonic comics.
You know, a book really.
You keep talking about the Sonic comics. I might actually have to read them.
So much autism.
You know what book really helps to understand how private order can work in different.
There's tons.
There's a lot.
Yes, there's a lot. Anarchy Unbound by Self-Governance works better than you think.
Okay. Who wrote it?
Peter T. Leeson.
Oh, how shocking.
Of course.
I think you need to get checked for Peter T. Leeson disease. I think you're a bit obsessed.
I think you're a fucking simp, to be honest. That's what we can diagnose.
He took one look at those khakis and he's like, I want my ass to look that good in khakis. So he's like, I got to work out and just get my Leeson on.
Hey man, I'm beating the agorists in threads.
Let me ask you a question, Jeremy, real quick. So let's just say the democratic system, the elections in general, right? Let's just say elections in general, you know, they're pretty much all corrupt. The vast majority of them in our country are all corrupt. Let's just say that. Okay.
How dare you?
How it's a two-part question. How could people, if because the system is corrupt, if it is, but let's just say it is, how could people vote in a different way? Obviously not vote with ballots, but how could people, you know, still make change and affect policy? And I guess, what do you think people would do? Like, do you think if all the elections are corrupt, and like Harrison, you made a great point, people are seeing this, do you think that's going to make everyone agorist? Like, where do you think the reaction to this sort of undermining of elections are? Is it that people just say, to hell with it, you know, and start an uprising?
So here's the thing. There are a lot of us and very few of them. If democracy actually worked, then there would be a lot more, you know, changes that happened, right? So if we take that same principle, that same precept, we can say that there are enough of us that they can't jail us all, that they can't enforce laws against us all, that they can't stop us all. If they decided to, for instance, force your local like grandma to stop serving meals to the homeless, and instead of just making sad stories about her going to jail, 15 people showed up with bouquets of flowers to the place where she is, and gave the cops bouquets of flowers, then I'm very sure that they would stop harassing grandma. If they did this when people were jailed for not getting jabbed, or not accepting the central bank digital currency, or growing food in their front lawn when the HOA or the mega corporations or the tax man or the whatever didn't like it. Just bouquets of flowers, you know, roses,
chrysanthemums, I'm gonna make the assumption that you're not actually talking about flowers.
Damn, I was trying
okay,
so
but
hard.
I think I understand. I think I understand what you're saying. Continue.
Darn it, my efforts. And then, if people made that easier by doing actual decentralized things rather than relying on centralized solutions like the electoral process and local politics, then it would be a lot easier for people to build the kinds of structures that would be easily defensible by bouquets of flowers. Harrison is muted.
Harrison.
Sorry. I have something going on you might like, Jeremiah. Actually, I'm looking at getting into the gray market.
Good.
I'm about to start
the gray market. What is that?
Yeah.
What you do? Okay, so algorithm has the white market, the gray market, and the black market on the ethical side, and it also has the pink and red markets on the unethical side. So it's things like, you know, things that are legal is pink, but unethical is pink. Things that are illegal and unethical are red. Things that are like totally legal and ethical are white. Things that are illegal but ethical and like sort of legally questionable are like gray market, and the black market is just totally ethical but totally illegal. So it's like it's different transition.
So the gray market means I'm doing something that is
in gray market, sort of like a fusion. You find out more about this in like
it's illegal in the gray market, things that are illegal, or legally
questionably legal.
Okay.
Basically, it means that I'm working outside the state. I'm not going to be having a business license.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
But I'm starting a business.
Good.
Be careful with that business, because it's questionable.
Of course. Be very careful, but
legally questionable, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better to vote gold in state election.
Yeah, that's worked so well.
I mean, I guess
we turned the map gold for like 3 minutes, man. We scared Schwabi. He's like, "Oh no."
I'm very sure that he was shaking in his boots.
He has every other Western country.
I don't think you. Hey, so okay, about going on about the midterms, right? Since we kind of haven't talked about all of this yet. What Kareem just said was very stupid. Klaus Schwab was obviously not very scared.
Oh, it was a joke.
If you've seen,
it was a joke.
I know. I'm poking at you. If something, Dave Smith brought this up, that like the Democrats were all like going off about how the Republicans were going to claim election fraud.
Yeah.
Well before
Biden specifically, he called out Biden,
and they did it before the elections happened.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that's indicative of, you don't do that if you think you're about to get destroyed. And we know this because the Democrats have claimed election fraud before when they've been destroyed. They, for whatever reason, knew something we didn't and went into that night knowing it would not be the red wave everyone thought it was. So, yeah, Klaus Schwab wasn't scared.
It was the red wave. Hey, there were plenty of bitches menstruating about the results.
Well, Harrison, what I kind of want to ask you and get into this, because it's been so long since we've done a show. So, I'm talking to some conservatives. Some I just talked to loosely at the gym.
Go ahead, though.
And anyways, so what a conservative was telling me in the sauna a little bit ago was essentially that he thought that Maricopa was the best example for fraud because it was the same county that had these problems with elections in 2020. And then he started pointing out all these areas that had like a lot of problems in 2020 and then just subsequently happened to have more problems. He basically like, look, I'm not going to say the whole country's fraudulent, but in these specific areas, they were messed up last election. They're messed up this election. There's something going on. And what he really was upset. He wants something to be done about it, because when you think about people who, obviously aren't libertarian like us and care a bit more about the system because they still hang on to that last thread that maybe they can use the system to benefit themselves. Maybe they can use the system to, increase their moral stature. But what is it like? What is the pathway forward after that? If it's true that both elections there was weird stuff, that's true. But if it was that there was some intentional weird stuff going on, what do you think the best way is for people to respond to that? Like, is it? I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, honestly, this is about it.
Oh my God.
Agorism, like.
Okay. Yeah.
Get involved.
Well, I meant a sort of.
Build your defense structures. Like,
Kareem is muted.
You can vote libertarian if you want. Like, there's not like. Look.
Are you going all agorist on me?
I mean, I've always had agorist sympathies. I'm not an agorist because I'm not opposed to any other tactics.
Yeah.
And generally agorists are. Like, Jeremiah is like
opposed to election.
Like, this is the right way. You guys are wasting your energy by doing this. I don't necessarily think that, but I do think that like agorism is a good tactic and one of the best things in our arsenal. But
see, I'm the whole bottom.
I think it's a more efficient way to change the system. It's more efficient, and I think if
why
something
are you trying
works,
to change the system?
Well, I'm saying we all agree here that the system is fundamentally not right. Well, here's how I'll put it: is we don't like the system. We believe in a different system, a decentralized system, a system where people get to live their life, and they don't have to worry about some stupid penal code in the law that gets them arrested for throwing a cigarette butt or pissing in public or whatever the statute may be. We believe in a more moral system, and so that's what I meant by that.
Yeah, well, so not the same system that left that chick on the train.
Absolutely not. Yes.
If you're asking,
maybe we shouldn't change that system, and we should just get rid of it.
Get rid of what?
The system.
The system.
This current system?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's a good question. That's a tough.
I agree.
I don't know.
I support it. I support it entirely.
But you need the LP to do that.
The problem is, of course, I want this system.
Kareem's just being a contrarian.
Of course, I want this system to go down, and I don't like it. But my problem is where I have trouble is thinking about, what I want to happen versus what will happen, and just looking at the history of revolutions. After some sort of revolution, it is not a good period of time.
How dare you? I didn't suggest a revolution. I suggested bouquets of flowers.
Yeah,
okay, well, first of all,
I don't know how you go about throwing the system, getting rid of the system without extraordinary amounts of violence. That's essentially what I'm saying, to be blunt and direct.
Peaceful divorce, but you need LP legislatures to push that bill forward.
And you need the president not to be like Abraham Lincoln, violate habeas corpus, and
or George Bush.
I'm not a fan of Lincoln.
Well, we need
censor all the opposition newspapers, lock everybody up, and run a civil war.
So, are you saying that there's going to be a civil war?
That's part
me? No, I would never suggest that. I'm suggesting bouquets of flowers. Go ahead.
I'm serious. I'm asking you a question.
That's part of where agorism comes in, actually, with the whole Lincoln thing. Is by the time it gets to that point, it has to be incredibly clear to them that that's not a good idea. We have to make it unbelievably obvious that civil war isn't worth it, or else there will be one and we will lose.
Okay, so to sort of go back to this, because I want to talk about this, because I have. But all in all, like, what do we think about the midterms in general? Like, and what happened?
I don't know. I liked the cope on Twitter over libertarian spoilers. Like I just don't care. Like
fair enough.
Elections are fake and gay. We knew this. We know it. Even if there was a massive red wave, that would mean nothing. Republicans are never going to do anything.
I get that, but Oliver, hey, don't forget Oliver. Chase, I think his name
Chase
is
Oliver.
Chase Oliver. Sorry.
Yeah. What about him?
I mixed it up. He caused a runoff in Georgia. People at least know us, and any publicity is good publicity. We actually
he did good.
Yes, we put a damper in a Senate race, bro. So, like, stop. I mean, come over.
No, Chase did good. Chase did good.
Any publicity is good publicity. So the ADL and SPLC writing articles against the Mises Caucus was good, actually.
Hey, it's going to bring attention to it.
Yes, I actually unironically agree. The SPLC writing mean articles about the Mises Caucus is one of the best things that happened to the Mises Caucus. Absolutely.
Well, apparently we're right wing. That's apparently what people say. You know what this Trump voter said to me? The same person I'm talking about. He said, "You, if you don't support Trump, you're supporting the Democrats. You might as well be a Democrat." Is essentially what he said. That's what he said. And he said, essentially what he was saying is, I would bring a critique, and I'm not bringing some Democratic bullshit fake critique. Oh, he was part Russia. Like, I'm critiquing him. Hey, he dropped drone strikes. Hey, he upped the drone strikes past Obama, which is scary because Obama loved the drone strike. But and
he removed the reporting mandate, meaning he could do it as much as he wanted and not be accountable. And Biden didn't reinstate it either, so Biden doesn't give a fucking shit.
And he bombed Syria, and only after watching Tucker Carlson did he pull out. My point is, those were just a few of the mistakes. And then I went into, his, opinion and policy on quantitative easing. The fact that he's for modern monetary theory, he's openly supported it on numerous occasions.
Red flag laws.
And red flag laws. And he banned bump stocks. I brought all those things up, almost all of them. Maybe not every single one of them. And you know what he said is, well, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. And he said, like, what do you want the guy to be perfect? But he's our best shot. And I was thinking about that. And I wonder how many people think that about their candidates, like both the left and the right. Like, it's interesting. Do you think people go ahead?
The left doesn't have a candidate.
Yep. Polling data has strongly suggested that, most people are just voting against the other side because they think the other side is worse. They don't really love their candidate. Yeah. That's like the whole duopoly scam. Yeah.
I couldn't find one person in Pennsylvania who liked Dr. Oz. Literally.
Yeah, no one voted for Joe Biden. Like, yes, this guy's going to be the greatest president in American history. They just hated Trump.
Exactly.
And the same with a large number of people who voted for Trump in 2016. They just hated Hillary Clinton.
Yes, and hated the machine in general. My favorite sort of piece from 2016 was Michael Moore. I'm sure you guys have seen it. But, dude, that speech, that was just so impressive. I should probably pull it up here. But essentially what Michael Moore said was that, Trump was the Molotov cocktail to the establishment, whether good, whether bad, and he predicted that Trump was going to win and beat Hillary Clinton. And I wonder,
because people are very stupid, and they thought that he was a Molotov cocktail to the establishment that got him there.
Yes, I'd agree with you. And he supported Democrats prior to him winning.
And he said Jeffrey Epstein was a fun person to be around.
And he wished Ghislaine Maxwell well.
We know what
he
that
wished
means.
Her well.
Yeah.
I always wondered about that. He wished her well. It's like, what do you mean you wish her well? What do you mean by that?
I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of like modern feminism or the Me Too movement or like the culture of like not assuming men's innocence. But that being said, anyone with as many sexual misconduct allegations against them as Trump is definitely a sexual predator. I'm sorry. Like,
I don't know about that, but I would not be surprised without a doubt.
Trump is absolutely a scumbag. Like, in the same way that like, there's not a ton of proof that Bill Clinton raped those 3 women by biting their face, but like, it kind of seems like he definitely did. Trump's on pretty much the same level.
He's on the Sleepy Joe.
Well, It's like I said this morning when Allison bitch-ass Hannigan was being like, oh yeah, or Alyssa Milano, sorry, not Allison Hannigan.
Oh,
she's
God,
better.
I can't stand
Alyssa Milano being like, oh, I sold my Tesla and I got a VW EV. I'm so and it's like, oh, I can't support white supremacy was at the bottom of the fucking thing. And it's like VW was a Nazi company.
Stupid, dude.
And she was all about Me Too until Tara Reid showed up.
Yep.
You're bringing up good points. So who do you guys, just because I think it was you, Jeremy, who said the Democrats don't have that Trump figure, but who do you guys think is going to be the figure in 2024? You think they're just going to run Biden again? Or do you think
smart money's on Biden? I would say it's about a 50% chance it is Biden. If it's not Biden, I have no clue who it's going to be. Except that I will say, if it's not Biden, I think it will also not be Kamala.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
There's no way.
She's very unpopular. She didn't win a single delegate.
There's no way they let her run.
See, but here's the thing. What I was saying was less that they don't have their Trump and more that they don't have a left-wing candidate. So, like, they ran Hillary. She was the queen of warmongers and the embodiment of rot.
Right.
They had, Hillary throwing daggers at Biden for a long time, and suddenly Biden was the presumptive nominee because, they're all on the same team and they're all basically Republicans. It's why you'll find pictures of all the presidents hanging out with each other. It's why even though Donald Trump was allegedly the anti-vax candidate, he brought J&J on stage. There's no real substantive difference in any of them.
Fundamentally, right? Even if you discard like the woke shit and like sort of like the global American empire religion, at its core, America is a center-right country, and that's you have
state capitalism.
Your options are globalist neoliberal versus globalist neoliberal. There's no one else. So
some of those neoliberals call themselves neoconservatives, so that's different.
We have neocons, man. We got
the neocons are just, it's disgusting.
It's
and
the
I
same
think
thing though. It's the same thing.
Same thing.
It's all NATO. It's all war hawking. It's all we've got to do this for the blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you don't think Gavin Newsom might run?
I don't know. Well,
Gavin Newsom. Okay, well, so Gavin Newsom said publicly today, actually, that he's all in behind Biden.
Yep.
Here's what you have to realize. None of those people are making this decision. This decision is up to the people who control the levers of power. This is a deep state decision, and it will be communicated to both the public and the Democratic Party through the corporate press.
It's sort of like
that's how we'll find out who the nominee is.
It's sort of like when people said like who this FTX guy was, like, and said, oh, he donated all these Democrats. He donated to Republicans too, and so did all the other people at FTX.
But it was a smaller percentage. But
smaller, but he still did it.
I know. I'm just saying he probably listen. There's tons of people like him. Yeah, exactly. There's tons of people like Sam Bankman-Fried that are. It's not the same guy, but essentially the same Ponzi scheme, right? And we've seen that on the right with Wall Street over and over again. But yeah, speaking of that, that's a good point bringing that up. Like, what do you guys think about that whole, FTX thing?
I've made an entire video already. People can check it out on my channel. Jeremiah Talks. Basically, I think it's a good thing that their crypto investments crashed, and I hope the rest of them do too. They shouldn't have held their money on centralized exchanges. They should have had non-custodial keys, and they shouldn't have been stupid bitches about it. But they were, and now we're here. Everyone who wants to piss off all their crypto friends can share that video.
So I will definitely put that in the comments. But so what exactly happened? Like, what happened? I don't know the. Go ahead.
He took $10 billion of customer funds and put it in his own trust so that he could invest it in shit. He lost the investments, and then they had a liquidity crisis, and then fucking.
He was worse than that, even though he was investing on leverage.
Yep.
He was using customer funds to take out loans, using the loans to make bets, and he lost it all.
And he was also apparently donating to Democratic PACs. Apparently, I don't know if this is true. He's the second largest Democratic donor behind George Soros. I heard that. I don't know if that's true.
That is
FTX,
true.
not him specifically.
Yeah. FTX.
That's 100% true. Yep.
So
and FTX was also a major financial partner of the Ukrainian government.
I saw that too. And certain people are trying to, and I don't know, but people are trying to make the case that there was some money laundering going on. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
This is just, well, it's not even just making the case. This is verifiable fact. And okay, actually, let me run through this.
Yeah, get into it, because I kind of want to get into it.
Congressmen, right? Various congressmen, both Democrats and, neocons, right? Adam Kinzinger types, send all this money to Ukraine, billions and billions of dollars. Ukraine gets the money, and they invest it with FTX.
Oh,
millions and millions and millions of it were invested with FTX. So FTX was holding Ukrainian government money, which they got from America as customer funds. And
of course, a bunch of mega corporations, which is why they got like Super Bowl ads and Larry David and all that shit.
And so some of that Ukrainian money, which of course came from the American government, some of that is the customer funds FTX that Sam Bankman-Fried was making bets on leverage.
Oh my God.
And then
that's crazy.
He was using the profit from those leveraged trades
to maintain it, right?
To send that money back to the candidates who were voting for all this money.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I mean, okay, so essentially
the one counter to it, right, is that people say there should be like more paper trail because FTX is a crypto company and this should all be on a public blockchain. The fundamental misunderstanding there is that FTX isn't a crypto company.
Yes, it's not.
Crypto exchanges don't hold enough crypto. That's the whole problem. Most of their holdings are fiat.
Wow. And they're leveraged.
Exactly. Right. And so the fact that Ukraine was getting money from the US, FTX was getting money from Ukraine, and then American congressmen were getting that money back around again from FTX. Just the very fact that you can follow US dollars in that circle,
that's crazy,
effectively proves that this is a money laundering scheme.
So I think it's safe to say everyone who voted on, maybe not everyone, but just look at everyone as though they're probably guilty of something. But everyone who voted for the Ukraine spending and all that, what is it, like 50, 60 billion? I don't know how much money we're at now. Yep. It's probably hundreds of billions.
We are at around 90 billion.
90 billion, going on 100 billion. It's safe to say that those people probably were not good faith actors and were profiting from that bill because so, wow, that's crazy. And I wonder if you can actually, well, you can, right? You can go on and see what politicians specifically got money from Sam Bankman-Fried. You can see that.
And can.
OpenSecrets.com.
We should look at that. If anyone can pull that up, that'd be awesome.
Well, hey, if you want to pull something up, you can also pull up my YouTube channel where I include all of that in the video. Your crypto investment crashed. Good.
Can you put Jeremy's video in the description of this video on YouTube?
Yes, I will. I'll put it in the
because I think I commented on it. I watched it. It was great. So
send it to me, Jeremy. Send the link to me.
Ooh, will do. Yeah. So basically, you can go on Open Secrets, find out all the people who've donated to people, and also they've got very interesting coverage, which sort of proves my point, which is that the people who won overwhelmingly got the most donations, overwhelmingly got the most wealthy support by like 82+% in total and 90+% in like federal elections.
Yeah, it's
so like
something that's absolutely wild, right? I've spent a lot of time on this show criticizing the Republican candidates in Arizona, but those Republicans that lost, if you look at how vastly that they were outspent by Katie Hobbs and Mark Kelly, it was insane.
Big. It was massive.
That's a
Mark
thing.
Kelly outspent Blake Masters like 5-1.
So
that money really, really matters.
And you know who gave Blake Masters his money? guy on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group, Peter Thiel, which means that whoever wanted these people to win, basically wanted that person, like Masters' opponent, to win, but still wanted Blake Masters to squeeze out all of the other competition.
I thought Peter Thiel was a libertarian.
He's on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group.
Peter Thiel gets sold as a libertarian in the corporate press because
he's a member of the Atlas Foundation and all this other shit.
Basically,
Coke-affiliated.
He's just not a shit lib, but he's massive, like Coctopus, like not worthy of trust.
And he's on the steering committee for the, let me say it again, Bilderberg fucking group. And anyone involved with the Bilderberg Group is not a libertarian. Fuck Peter Thiel and his conservative money piece of shit garbage. He's starting a dating app for conservatives. Did you hear about that? He's fucking pathetic. He's a piece of shit. Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's a good way to profit off of the mass destabilization. He's
starting a dating app for conservatives called The Right Stuff. And if you watch any of the ads, it is
that's actually disgusting.
It is the cringiest thing ever.
And let's be clear here. If you thought Parler was bad for giving all that information to the feds, why don't you try giving all your vital information, interests, sexual preferences, and private data to the fucking Bilderberg Group directly? That's great. We'll help you fuck, conservatives. You're not getting laid enough, and you're pathetic. So we'll help you fuck. You can't do it on your own.
Which is kind of sad in itself, right? Why can't? Well, yeah. I guess the idea is that Tinder is like biased towards the left or something.
Well,
is that the idea?
Well, for one, that is kind of true. Like dating apps and social media apps in general are massively biased towards like shit lib white girls. That being said, as someone who's been on dating apps, right? Don't judge me. I'm 21.
I'm judging.
The problem with dating apps, right? The reason they kind of suck is the ratio of men to women. There's always way more guys than women. Now imagine that problem, but you have an app specifically targeted to chuds. This is going to be the most hilarious disaster in tech history. I cannot wait.
It'll be funny though.
So I wanted to pull up that, what is it? It's Open Secrets, I think, right? That app.
Yep.
We're going to pull that up and look at this because I have a feeling that AOC, Ileana, all those people voted for this. And they typically actually don't vote this way. They're actually pretty good on certain anti-war stuff.
The progressives have been terrible on Ukraine. I'm sure you guys all saw a couple months ago where the Progressive Caucus put out like a statement a couple months ago just saying that like, hey, look, we're not against aid to Ukraine, but we don't want there to be nuclear war, so we should start negotiating eventually.
And they took it back, didn't they?
Everybody freaked the fuck out, and they literally took it back.
That's crazy. Who do you think did that? Like, was it Pelosi? Like, who was it? Was like, we got to pull that back.
I think they're just cowards, and I honestly like. I'm sure Pelosi and all of like the centrist Democrats were putting pressure on behind the scenes, but mostly I think they just got flamed on Twitter, and they're that big of bitches.
By the way, any conservative who thinks Peter Thiel is on their side should remember that he was right there at the foundation of Facebook, helping them get as big as they are.
Yeah.
Yep,
that's a good point.
And so PayPal got like big, and now they're censoring people's opinions. Facebook got big, and now they're censoring people's opinions. Both of them are working with the mega corporations, banks, and governments in order to do that. And guess what? Maybe Peter Thiel isn't a fucking libertarian.
Is he a corporatist?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
I don't know. He's a state cap. My internet wants me to die. He's a state capitalist. Corporatism is a fake word.
No, it isn't. Same thing.
Yep. Nope.
Corporatism, state capitalism.
Why are you not just calling it? Why are you not calling it state capitalism or fascism?
Because
why do we call it corporatism?
Fascism.
Well, if you stop in, because as the quote said, fascism should more likely be called corporatism because it's the merger of corporate and state power.
Okay, where did Mussolini actually say that?
It's a quote by him. I don't know where he
Where?
said it.
What's the quote? I'll look it up real quick.
I don't hang out with. I don't know. We haven't hung out recently to get a beer or wine or olives or
See, the thing is that it like the merger of corporate and state power is fascism, but why don't we just call it fascism?
Because corporatism gives the idea that it's a corporation merged with the state.
Well, there's a difference.
Fascism.
There's a difference between fascism, which is corporatism, but better called well, then why not just call it fascism? And what we actually live in, which is technically different, which is corporatocracy, which is state capitalism. There is a difference.
I think we're using interchangeable terms, and this is kind of a
not entirely. It's a bad system. Can we all agree on that? At least?
Oh yes, absolutely, but not. So corporatocracy or state capitalism, which is what we live in, still allows for at least the illusion of competing firms within the same sector. Whereas if you read original fascist doctrine, which the fascists also called themselves corporatists,
corporativists, by the way, just to be specific,
they had a belief about efficiency and like a lack of redundancy. So they would control an entire sector, an entire industry within one privately owned state corporation.
Or how about this? All corporations are essentially functioning for the benefit of the state.
Yes.
And effectively, we don't live in any sort of friendlier system than fascism. It's just called friendly fascism, as Consolidated and some socialist authors have put it. It's friendly fascism. It's what Noam Chomsky would call manufactured consent, and they don't have to worry about about controlling or isolating, because the people will do that themselves, given several manufactured choices that all serve the elites. It's the slaughterhouse meme where it's like left to right, and then it's still leading to the same thing. The wall is a temporary thing.
Yep.
All right. I mean, I'm not.
Coke and Pepsi. Still high-fructose corn syrup and benefiting the Monsanto's people. So,
yeah, I'm not gonna. Here's the thing: I'm not gonna fight over specific terminology or semantics. What I will say is, it's very clear to me there's a merger of corporate and state power. If you want to call it state capitalism or fascism or corporatocracy, that's fine. But I can observably see what's going on, and that's just
right. And the reason I'm so specific is because if we call it fascism or state capitalism, we can ally with the left. We can use their language and be on the same page with them, get more numbers for delivering more bouquets to people.
I guess. I mean, I just talk to the left. I don't necessarily do that. I just go anarcho-syndicalist
From a political perspective, that's absolutely what we need to do. If we're gonna, we want more people to support us.
I like the idea of allying with left anarchists, but left
unity isn't what I'm proposing. I'm proposing the bottom strip. Like Rothbard, when he started to write against state capitalism, did it in publications designed to ally the left and right libertarian axis.
I would very much agree with that. I think the average self-described leftist is pretty cool with state capitalism at the moment, and the ones that aren't are advocating for a system that's worse. So
depends who it is. See, that's why instead of terminology,
I'm very down with the idea that we should be friends with mutualists. If that's
mutualists are cool. Even primitivists. Me and Jeremy talked to John Zerzan, and me and John Zerzan don't agree on everything, but he's a good dude. What's actually interesting in that whole podcast is I didn't see any pushback. Well, I gave John Zerzan pushback, but
because I agree with much more closely with people down to completely destroy the system, and he's much more close. He's closer to complete destruction of the system than people who support it for one reason or another, or who pragmatically support it but don't actually support it, or et cetera, et cetera. I get along much better with people who are already as insane as I am. I think that would be obvious.
Are you insane? So
me.
Yeah, I heard it was free, but here's the thing. That's what I encourage people to do is sit down and because I used to be against all that. And I'm like, let me read Bakunin. Let me see what Rudolph Rocker is. And even like I got a comment, which wasn't really a nice comment, and I kind of did push back on it. Is on my channel, I commented on anarcho-syndicalist video, and he said, "Oh, there's an ANCAP. You guys exist out there," and I said, "Yeah," and then I replied to him.
Well, my general vibe, you know, just to be specific, I want as many people like prepared to be florists as possible. I think people need, delivering bouquets of flowers.
Are you seriously not keeping up with the analogy?
I mean, I get it, but in your definition, I don't know about florists. I would say I want people to be, instead of florists, be kind of pseudo-sociologists. People like, here's how social order works based on comparative advantage. If you want to use the word Ricardian.
Okay, we can't all be sociologists, though. Some people are working in the mines. Some people are delivering the mail. Why do we all have to be nerds?
I said pseudo. I didn't say you have to be a nerd, but here's the thing. I'm not even saying you open up a textbook. You go to someone and say, how do you not fight with your neighbor? Oh, here's why I won't do it, because of this. Oh, that's what's creating social cooperation. Social cooperation leads to liberty.
That's the first step of like getting them to agree to be florists, is to tell them that their neighbors should be defended and that they should, you know, get on board with helping grandma if she's feeding the homeless.
And that sort of thing is that sort of thing is critical to your national divorce dreams, Kareem. Because
it's not mine, it's just what's going on now.
I agree. And look, I'm not like poo-pooing it. Like, I want the same thing. But that can't happen unless the powers that be allow it to happen, because they're left with no other choice. They will fight to hold on to their power if they think that is a winnable battle.
I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing. We're ANCAPs, obviously, but two people who are not. Two people who are authoritarians who specifically called for it are Marjorie Taylor Greene, which you can say what you want. I don't agree with her politics. And John Podesta said, I don't know where I saw the quote, but I did see it. If Trump won in 2020, the West Coast should secede. I don't think he was being hyperbolic. So even some of the authoritarian people, you know, authoritarian left and right, if you want to say they're both on the right, whatever. If you want to say they're, you know, whatever. But they were calling for it. Tim calls for it, whatever you think. So it's going to happen. Just when.
Yeah, we need to get to the point with our florists, let's say, that the powers that be actually listen to those progressives that would be equally fine with the divorce.
Yes. You do that through a method called the Ricardian.
It needs to look like the more attractive option.
Yeah. Yes. And you do that through understanding comparative advantage and then taking a look at saying when incentives for that outmatch consequences, generally that happens.
The strongest incentive, the strongest incentive that you can give them is a fear of flowers.
Fair enough. That being said, yeah, I get it. I've been too much libertarian think tanky. I get it. I know someone's going to say that, so I'll say that. Just if we get rid of the coctopus doesn't mean we can't eat calamari sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not against the intellectual side of libertarianism. I'm just saying that like you'll never win everyone over to that, obviously. No. Like that's not how you get progressives to buy into that idea. You get progressives to buy into that idea with
action.
You know?
Well, kind of.
And you start with that, and you start with action so that you can demonstrate that you're going to do it. Because if you're going to do it, if you're going to feed the homeless because you've got grandma on your side and you're helping guard her food truck, then you've got all of the ammo you need to say that the state does not give a fucking shit. And you've got all the ammo you need to be able to say, hey, this system is corrupt and fucked up, and we're doing something about it. That's what you need to do, and because then the progressives who say, well, how would we take care of X, Y, and Z in an anarchist society? You can tell them we're fucking doing it, and you should stop supporting the politicians that are maintaining the status quo that are stopping us from keeping doing it.
Yes, especially neoconservatives like Dan Crenshaw. So I wanted to pull this up right now because I completely forgot about this. I've been looking through all the politicians who vote on the bill, it's quite a lot. It's a bit looking at their donations. So I forgot about this when I was doing research on him. So his third biggest funder is this company called Kirkland and Ellis. Let me find it. And I know a bunch of the directors at the top were young global leaders. A bunch.
Danny, who are we looking at?
Dan Crenshaw.
Okay.
Yeah, trying to remember. It was linked to the Gates Foundation as well.
But yeah, like the primary thing that people should be concerned with is that, like, if we're not demonstrating that we can and that we will, they have no reason to trust us. Oh, you got your candidates in, and now you're stripping Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare and closing down the public school system and instead of that, we build the alternative structures now. We build a parallel economy now. We do it now, and we teach people to be florists in defense of their garden.
Okay.
Harrison is muted.
Yes. The easiest parallel systems to build, and this is something I really think we ought to focus on, are having a flower delivery system and knowing how to use it. Very easy. Have friends who you work with for that. Very easy. And then the other one is obviously education. It's not that fucking hard for this is just a pet peeve I have. Anarchists on Twitter whose kids go to fucking public school. It is not that hard. It is not that hard to pull your kids out of public school.
Or anarchists who irresponsibly fucked and produced kids they weren't ready for, and then they're like, "Oh, now we need to do that."
And then they're stuck sending them to public school. Yeah, exactly. Creating a parallel economy for education is getting easier and easier by the day.
Yeah, especially with the internet and everything.
And with that, so one of the reasons I was so edgy at the beginning of this is that I had 500 milligrams of caffeine in me.
Wow, that's a lot, dude. Jesus.
And the reason I had that is
a heart attack and die.
I worked out for an hour after I ate my carb-heavy breakfast.
I feel you.
The initial caffeine is 200 milligrams that I take in my morning pill cup, and I basically have that. I have a B complex. I have 5,000 IUs of D. I have a multivitamin, and I have a calcium, magnesium, and zinc supplement waiting for me in my pill cup. And I have that every morning with my breakfast so the carbs don't hit me too hard. Then I have 150 milligrams before the workout, 5 minutes before, and then 150 milligrams halfway through. So basically, I have 500 milligrams in the time space of 2 hours to 2 hours and a half. And but the reason I brought that up is because I'm in my workout shirt right now. I got off my workout and I immediately started this stream. I was all roided out, except not on roids, on natty turkey. And basically,
don't lie. You're on TRT. Don't lie.
I don't need it. I've got weird genes and they overproduce everything, including some of the chick hormones. I've got everything way turned up, and if I had that, I'd probably just go bald. But basically, the reason I bring that up is because libertarians and anarchists have this tendency to say, oh, I just want drugs to be legal. If we legalize weed, if we legalize all these drugs, if we do all this drug, and then they're all about getting high, and they talk about having ego death, man, and all this other shit, all that energy that they put into getting high and being like sexually promiscuous and all this other stuff, I want a future where people have the liberty to do that, because the people who chose not to were of sober and well enough equipped mind to give them that future. And I think without that sobriety, without that clear intention and understanding, people are fucked. And if we don't have that potential, like, you know, understanding, we're not going anywhere. We're going to stay the drugged out hippies of the political world, and it's going to be fucking useless.
I mean, chill here a little bit. Have you ever listen to Terrence?
Hold on.
That's not true.
But I don't like a lot of what he has to say. So
I like a lot.
That's fine. But I think what you're trying to say overall is essentially the movement has to be professional,
serious,
to some degree. It has to be serious, and it has to be an intellectual movement. It can't just be whacked out nut jobs talking about.
And you have to try to get fit. If you're not fit enough to be a florist, you're going to be planted.
It has to be dangerous.
Yes.
So you would
get sober, get fit, get technically and tactically proficient. Absolutely.
Yes. Get fucking ready.
That is what a serious liberty movement would look like.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And read.
Yep.
Not a bunch of people like jacking off, doing drugs, and getting drunk.
Yep.
Which is fine if you want to do those things, but that shouldn't be the base of our movement. It shouldn't look like we don't want to look like the 1960s counterculture, because God knows how that ended, right?
Exactly.
We don't want to look like that. Exactly. We want to look more, I think we want to look more like the 80s Reagan Revolution. And I know he's not good, and there's tons of critiques.
I was
the figures at that time, Rothbard and Milton Friedman. I mean, they were respected.
I would rather look like this.
Cool.
Here's my set of role models.
Punk rock energy.
Here's my set of role models, and I'm not exaggerating here. You need to be more like the freedom fighters from Sonic. Clear mind, understanding of each other's capabilities and like mentalities, able to organize effectively so that when one unit drops, you're able to replace them with another, and consistently fast in getting to the goal, so that you can move forward before they can reach it, before they can stop you. That's Jeremy, what we need to be.
Yeah, Jeremy, I 100% agree with you. I just want you to know, I will get you some cool khakis and a nice button.
I actually just found out about athletic jeans. Those are pretty cool. You get
you just found out about those?
Yeah, I didn't know that there were those. I've been getting relaxed.
Have you been living under a rock?
What the fuck are athletic jeans?
Yeah.
Well, apparently they really tightly fit your legs, and they're really good for running long term. So I got those, and I've been doing pretty well with those, because I want something I want something that can resist scratches, so that when I go cross country, I can brush against them. Khakis can't do that.
Yeah, essentially, unlike denim,
Harrison's
more stretchy.
It's still denim, but it's like denim with an elastic blend in it.
It's more elasticy. Yeah, they're really good. I like them. I have a couple pairs.
Harrison will get a bow tie and a suit and be like Ross.
Dude. Okay. I have to go on a personal anecdote here, right?
Okay. While you do that, I'm going to turn off my camera and put on a tie so that he can see what a real man's tie looks like.
There is the fucking stereotype, right? Because of Rothbard, of libertarians wearing bow ties.
Friedman wore them as well.
That's how you get tricked,
Friedman wore them as well.
Like, yo, girl, let's talk about praxeology. She's like,
so when I was gonna go to Revolution, my fucking father and sister made fun of me for hours on end. Are you gonna wear a fucking bow tie? To the point that my sister actually bought me a fucking bow tie for my birthday. I've never once worn a bow tie. And so because of this joke, I never can wear a bow tie, even though my intellectual hero, Murray Rothbard, was the greatest of all bow tie enjoyers.
So, you know what I'm wondering, guys, is when I look at this libertarian movement, and when I look at the Mises Caucus and what it stands for and all the great people that are out there, who do you think if you were to put your finger on, who do you think is the face of the party? Who do you think is like that guy? Who's at the top?
The face of the party? Of the LP?
I wouldn't say, but the movement in general, the Liberty movement in general.
Ron Paul is still the face of the Liberty movement.
I guess I would agree with that, but I kind of meant someone that's younger because obviously he's pretty old.
I don't think there is a younger equivalent to Ron Paul. To the extent there is, it's Dave Smith. Yeah.
Okay.
Or Michael Heiss if you want. Dave Smith or Michael Heiss.
I really like Michael Malice, like a lot. He's one of my favorite guys out there. I recommend his book. I
love Malice. But I think to the extent that he's part of the Liberty movement,
he's not political.
It's part of. He's not always political. To the extent he's part of the Liberty movement, it's part of Dave Smith's sphere.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. I really like Dave Smith.
Until we get another McAfee, we're fucked because he was really practical, really serious, and even though he was a druggie, he still actually had really good ideas. And was willing to walk the boat. Until we get people willing to walk that boat, we're not going to get anywhere. And it's a big old boys club with a bunch of conservatives backing each other off right now.
I like Dave Smith, but I think he's wrong about plenty.
Name some things.
What about Spike Cohen? Spike Cohen's another good face.
Spike Cohen.
Yeah, I don't know. He just doesn't have that Ron Paul aura about him. He doesn't have that. I don't know what you call it.
He has his own thing.
He doesn't have the same energy, but
exactly.
Spike has his own sort of charm. I'll be honest. I really love Spike Cohen.
I'll tell you why Spike is really effective. Because Spike will sit down with you.
Listen to
him. And he was pompous. He was not a good
person
to talk to.
He's not.
And when I brought up the octopus, he acted all fucking superior. Like, oh, I've never gotten a check directly from them. That means the problem isn't there. It's there.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I've talked with Spike too, and he came off as really humble to me. Actually,
yeah, he came off as actually relatable. He didn't talk about politics. He's like, I just had fish. And I'm celebrating a Jewish holiday. And he was real chill. Like, he wasn't like, oh, what do you think of, the Russia-Ukraine war? No, he was, really chill. And he's always been nice to me. So I'm not going to say anything bad about Spike. Spike's actually very relatable. I don't know why people
maybe you could organize getting back on the right foot, because right now I don't like him.
I've interacted.
Dude?
I've interacted with Spike directly, probably with.
Is very humble, very reasonable. He's a mayor in Knoxville, I think. And
who?
Who's that?
I don't know.
Glenn Jacobs?
Glenn Jacobs is good.
Yeah.
The Kane? Isn't that Kane the wrestler?
Yes.
That is Kane. He's
that guy is definitely on TRT. He's in good shape, and he's like 50 or 60.
He's on TRT.
I think he's 70, actually.
But no, I've probably interacted directly with Spike more than any other celebritarian, and he's always been really nice to me, so I don't know.
Oh, also Phil That Remains of All That Remains.
From All That Remains?
Phil Labonte, yeah. He's cool.
Phil Labonte.
He's cool. I'll be honest, guys. Just talking about thought leaders, I guess. I have a strong preference for who our thought leader would be, even if he's not this is aside from who I want the LP nominee to be. I'm still probably on board with Dave Smith. All of these people are great. But if I had one thought leader that intellectually the movement would follow him, Scott Horton.
Who?
Scott Horton.
Wait, you don't know Scott Horton?
Scott? No, I did. I just didn't hear what he said. Of course I know Scott Horton.
I was about to say, that's a fucking problem, yo.
Scott Horton's the fucking man, dude.
So one of the things that I was looking at on Twitter, because Twitter's quite fun to look at, but you don't engage in it. As long as you don't engage with the beast, you're pretty good. But once you start to engage, then it really sucks you in. But there's the whole Kanye West Semitic language he's used, and just hateful language in general, conspiratorial language, that Jews control everything, et cetera, et cetera. But he was talking about Ben Shapiro. Yeah, he was talking about Ben Shapiro and how Ben Shapiro, called him an anti-Semite, and he's Jewish, so no one's surprised, and said all these things when, he was getting money from, I think, what is it? Not Adidas, the other one, from Hugo Boss, which was a Nazi company. right? Was that was a company that made
my
uniforms.
trench coat company never made uniforms for the Nazis. All I'm saying.
Yeah. And the point is like Ben Shapiro is one of those guys in the conservative movement who, he really tries to act very intellectual. He's always destroying the libs. He's always calling out, people on college campuses. This is what he talks about almost every lecture I've seen him give, every talk, every speech. He talks about free speech. He says anyone can debate him. And he says anyone can come up here and debate him. And I will tell you this, and I actually didn't think about this before, but when you look at it, the only people he's ever debated are seriously dumb leftists and college students. He has not debated a Scott Horton. He's never debated a real libertarian type. And I think it's because he would get destroyed because he knows he's wrong.
Ben Shapiro has never in his life debated a real libertarian.
Not even close. It's not even close. No one's even approximating that.
If there was one who he would have to debate, it would
Scott
obviously be Scott Horton.
Yeah, I want to see that.
I got a guy who crushed it in the debates, and I saw this. He crushed Stacey Abrams, and that is Shane Hazel. I like Shane Hazel.
I really want to see Scott Horton because he knows all the data. Or Peter T. Leeson, to be honest. Peter T. Leeson might actually be really good at debating Ben Shapiro because both of them know all the data points. They know about Somalia.
Honestly, though, like, Scott, I think, would be my first choice if someone was going to debate Ben Shapiro. But any serious libertarian,
Dave Smith,
any serious libertarian thought leader would destroy Shapiro. Smith, Cohen, Horton, Woods, Dice, Malice.
We need to spam.
I was talking politicians when I was talking the face of libertarian, but to me, who I want to see debate, who I think would actually be better than anyone previously listed, James Corbett of the Corbett Report.
Yeah, he's good.
James Corbett would fucking ice Ben Shapiro.
But it's funny to me, and I'm looking at. Yes, I agree with you on that. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this guy has gotten away with being the conservative talking about free speech. He's the debate bro, and he's never even debated anyone. He's debated college students. I tried to look. I went back a while. College students. Some of them may be older, some of them may be younger, whatever. But college students and dumb leftists such as Anna Kasparian or Cenk Uygur. You know how dumb those people are? Forget whether they're right. Forget whether they're correct. They're not smart.
People.
They're they're not smart. They don't know the data.
They don't even own a trench coat.
Owning a trench coat does make you verifiably smarter.
He hasn't debated.
I own a trench coat. I own a trench coat.
Gary Johnson could beat Ben Shapiro.
We need to see
Gary Johnson.
Probably.
I think we need to spam. I don't know. There needs to be a movement for Dave Smith to try and get a debate with Ben Shapiro. That needs to happen. That would be not only a major thing culturally, but politically.
The actual conspiracies that are real.
Or Jacob Hornberger, even. Jacob Hornberger would crush it.
Hornberger's a massive nerd. He's not actually there for the movement.
What about Alex Jones? I would love to see Alex Jones debate Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, but obviously, like, Shapiro will never debate any of these people.
I know, and it pisses me off because he gets away.
If he was going to debate someone, because also, like, Spike Cohen, like, can debate, but he's not like a great debater. He's not like a debate bro type. So I don't think he would ever be into that. If Shapiro was going to debate, he would maybe debate Smith or Malice.
Yes.
And the only reason he would do it is because he couldn't call them anti-Semites because they're Jews. The rest of them, he would just call them anti-Semites and never speak to them again.
Yep. But it's it just shocked me that he's gone this long. He's not a new political figure. He's been a very big public figure in the conservative movement for a decade. Right. And he's never even had a single debate with anyone other than dumb leftists.
Yeah. Conservatives.
Okay. So you got that one viewer who wants to debate on or who said at first that they want to debate me on political action versus like more anarchist approaches. And they haven't done it yet. And part of the reason I think is because people don't like the idea of authentic debate anymore. The idea of debate, people think of like, oh, I'm going to go on Vouch and yell at him and interrupt and Destiny and all these fucking,
Yeah,
they suck.
Jeremy, I thought you already debated Harrison.
Killed a significant amount of debate.
He's not talking about me.
Oh, are you talking about me?
No, he's talking about someone else.
I'm not going to mention them by name. I don't want to fucking put them on blast, but they're in our key-based group. Either way, the point is that, like, ultimately, the debate culture has been destroyed by people like Shapiro, by people like Crowder, by people who call debating shouting people down, embarrassing inexperienced people,
by people like Vosh as well. Like, it's not just right wingers. Like, what?
He's annoying. I just cannot stand Vosh.
Destiny.
Yeah,
and
Destiny's actually pretty good on certain things.
And all these people getting on board with, you know, fucking this false debate culture. Hassan Piker, a good example.
Oh my God, that guy is
on board with this jack fucking shit debate culture where people are interrupting each other, people are employing fallacies, there's no moderator, there's no structure, there's no time sections, so you can't have an opening and closing statement.
Honestly,
let's argue on this guy's YouTube channel. Come here and debate me. Eric fucking July was a very good example of that, because he did this thing where a while back he was like, you know, everybody who disagrees with me, come on my show right now to debate me. And like, I had shit to do, but I said, you know, because people kept on tagging me, and so I said, you know, if you want to schedule something, I'm down, but I'm taking care of something right now. And he basically called me a pussy because I wouldn't get on the fucking stream with him right then and there. It's a bunch of petulant children masquerading as adults who like fake being intellectuals. It's stupid.
Honestly, watch like the average.
Like Eric July.
Watch the average, like, internet debate versus just even Jeremiah and I. Like, it
was a lot more professional, and you guys were respectful to each other as well.
There's no structure. There's no respect. There's no time limits.
Because it's not a debate.
Yeah,
it's not a debate. It's just a spat. It's very
cringe.
All high school garbage.
Yeah, it's very cringe entertainment, mostly targeted to teenagers.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's what debate is going forward, and then they support all these bad debaters, and then for some reason these bad debaters have enough support to keep going. It's not shocking at all, yo.
And one of the things I hate just about that word debate is it sort of implies confrontation, and of course there's going to be disagreements, but I like discussions. Even when I'm debating someone, if you want to use that technical term about, you know, political topics or a particular issue, I'm not trying to win or defeat them. I want my ideas to win. I want, you know, the ideas that I think are correct to really reach the top of, you know, the idea hierarchy. And I hope I'm able to articulate myself so people can understand it. But really, I just want to have a discussion with someone. You know what I mean? I'm not like trying to like own them. You know what I mean?
And so when I think of debating, I think of like chess, right?
Yeah.
It's a game. It's a simulation of war. And I wouldn't mind like a simulation of war, but I'm trying to like learn how the war would work. And I respect the war itself. I respect it when I go 1v1 with somebody on a multiplayer game. I'm a gamer who respects gaming. I'm a debater who respects debating. It's still a confrontation, but I want it to work well. I want it to be enjoyable and intellectually stimulating.
But are you trying to defeat your opponent, or are you trying to explain your ideas that you think are the correct ideas?
Both, but like the second part is much more important.
Okay.
So, on the debate versus discussion question, kind of.
Also, I'm very warm. One moment.
There's a time and place for both. And what I mean about that is there's genuine people, right, who are worth having that discussion with and trying to learn from them and maybe trying to bring them over to your side. But I don't know. I think because debate bro culture has given debates a bad name, people tend to think that like debates aren't valuable, whereas like actually hostile debates where you're trying to defeat your opponent, there absolutely is value to that. And the first thing I would point to is Scott Horton versus Bill Kristol at the Soho Forum.
Oh yeah,
right?
Scott.
You don't try to convince Bill Kristol. You try to destroy him, because
he didn't do it in a he wasn't making derogatory comments. He wasn't calling him an asshole. You know what I mean?
Well, so that's not the best way to do that, right? The best way to destroy him is to take him apart intellectually.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's not for his benefit. Right. And that there are some debates where it's not for your benefit. It's not for the benefit of the person you're debating. You're making your points to the audience.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
The audience is the core focus.
Quick, here's the thing. Here's the reason why I bring, and Jeremy doesn't agree with me at all. And I don't think you do either. But the reason I bring up easy case anarchy is a lot of my friends in the Mises caucus says, where is anarchy at? And I say, look, you left a review on Yelp. Anarchy. You're making a decentralized decision, even in the shadow of the state. And going by Dr. Essentially, it can be if you gossip among your friends and say, don't want to go to this restaurant, and you boycott
or
it.
That's a tool, and it's not anarchy itself.
So to me, there is an easy case anarchy where you make decentralized decisions outside of the state. Then there's hardest case where you cooperate outside of the state, or hard case, and then hardest case where you cooperate outside of the state and have a greater welfare advantage, which is harder still.
None of these things are really like anarchy themselves, and anarchy is what we're fighting for by using these tools.
They are, but I have to convince people that reputation and signaling, if they're done outside of the shadow of the state, is anarchy, so they can start to see the precipice of anarchy in their everyday interactions. Thus, they start to use the Ricardian law of association by default. And that's my
position. Where's your nice shirt and suit jacket? Where's your blazer, Kareem?
Yeah, do you have a tie on?
Give me a second.
Seems like you're making
you kind of look a little suspect, Kareem. So yeah, Harrison, I agree with your point that you want to debate, especially people who are really wrong, and I think even further past that, people who you deem morally unjustified and who are utterly immoral and unethical. Right, you want to pick apart that person's ideas, and you definitely want to defeat them. But you're not necessarily doing, and so you can do both, I think. But you're not necessarily trying to do it for yourself. It's not out of selfish, like, I want to win this for me because I want to be the one who comes out looking like the winner, and I want the praise. It's because this guy's unethical. His ideas are terrible. They've been proven terrible, and everyone needs to know that. So you really do it. The best debates I've ever watched, you do it in a way where everyone can see, the person for what it is. Everyone can see a spade for it's a spade. Like, there's no hiding it, right? And the only way that can happen, though, I think that Jeremy pointed out on this, it has to be done in a manner that there's a moderator. It has to be done in a manner that it just can't go to chaos. It just can't go to screaming. It just can't go to insults. It has to be moderated by someone who's fair, at least to some degree, impartial, so the ideas can prosper, and they can do it in a way where the audience is like, oh, that guy had better ideas, But that's not what's going on in a lot of these internet debates, bro. I don't know if you ever watched Vosh or Destiny. Destiny's better than Vosh. But, I mean, Destiny used to do this thing. He's gotten better. But he'll just talk really fast and just talk over you. And Vosh, he'll just leave. Like, he'll rage quit, and he makes fun of you. Like, that's what he does to almost everyone he debates. He'll make fun of them. He'll accuse them of being a Holocaust denier, an anti-Semite. He'll say all these ridiculous things. And I'm like, so you're not really good faith. Are you good faith? And he never listens. If you notice in Vosh's debates, he never, ever listens. He's never wrong. And he's highly arrogant, I think, in that way. And he's wrong a lot. It's not like this guy's been wrong on a few things. It's like, no, he's wrong on a lot of stuff. So what's the point in having someone come on the debate platform just for you to be like, I'm still believing what I believe? Is part of it also to convince the other person?
But
you're muted. You're muted.
There are some people who it's worth having a discussion with because you're trying to bring them over to your side, but also the people who are most worth having those discussions with instead of pure like hostile debates are people who you actually think you have something to learn from and you're trying to learn from them. Debates can also be valuable if someone has terrible ideas and needs to be publicly discredited.
I agree with that's a good word. Yeah.
For that to happen, the debate has to be orderly and professional.
Yep.
Because if it descends into shouting and nonsense,
yes,
there's no clear and obvious winner. Whereas if you see a highly moderated debate that is very professional, but one side's points are terrible, there is a clear winner. And
Why
that's how you
need to move it to the, there you go. That's slightly better.
Fix your collar, dumbass.
Shut up, man.
But okay.
Dude, if you're not nice to me, I won't give you any Koch brothers money once my check clears. Put it all in XRP.
Also, on the topic of, I have seen Vosh debates because I watched, he had a debate with Shoe on Head about free speech.
I love
my God.
And he made...
I like Shoe.
So funny.
I do like Shoe. He made like the fire in a crowded theater debate.
He's done that so many times, dude. I literally heard him say that 4 times.
She made like the go-to defense, which is like, Vosh, you say that all the time. Do you know where that defense actually comes from? It was to jail socialist anti-war protesters. And
what did he say?
He was just stunned and he shut up for a second, and then he immediately just started calling her wrong.
Oh yeah, see, did he attack her? Did he like call her? I don't know.
He didn't personally attack her because I think they're actually
she's a girl,
friends, and she's a woman. So he didn't like ad hominem her, but he did start just denying it, which is not a good debate tactic.
Exactly. It's like, okay, you can be wrong in a debate and still win. And I think that's what it's like. People get into this positive feedback loops in debates and life in general, where they think they have extreme confidence about a particular subject. They have moral confidence. They have political confidence. They have culture confidence. They have from all these different levels of analysis that this is what the thing is. And I know that for sure. And when they're faced with counter views that completely discredit that idea or completely, put those ideas away because you can't have that idea and this idea coexist because, say they're contradictory or whatever the case may be. Most people go straight to most, and they're dogmatic as well, but most people aren't going to be like, oh, okay, I'm wrong. I made that mistake. It's like a lot of these people that I'm seeing in politics, they'll just go into a positive feedback loop and just keep saying they're right. They don't ever want to admit that they're actually wrong, even if they know that they're wrong, because I think part of the debate is if you say you're wrong, you lose, which is not true. But that's from their perspective. If I say that I'm wrong here, therefore I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, how could I win the debate? And I think that's how a lot of, especially Vosh, looks at it. Like, he's never wrong. I'm telling you, that guy, I've never seen him say that he's been wrong on anything.
I've tried to debate Vosh. I've called Vosh out probably 5 times, and he won't, he'll respond basically, but he won't debate me. He will not.
And of course he'll debate, what's his name? Who's that guy he debated on Timcast? On Tim Pool? What's it? Charlie Kirk.
Tim Pool is never going to foster a good debate. Ever. Because he's
It was actually pretty good.
He did.
It was good. It was really good.
It's guaranteed. Okay, so did it have opening and closing statements?
Yes.
Did Tim Pool actually moderate it? Was there time segments? Was it like fallacy forward?
It could have been better. Yes, I get what you're saying. It wasn't perfect, and
because it's Tim Pool,
I think it was pretty good.
I don't hate Tim Pool, but his debates tend to be a shit show.
Yeah, this one was good. He's had other ones that are not good.
Well, see, the
I'll
thing
be honest,
is,
I like
Tim Pool. Go ahead.
I like that Tim Pool platforms libertarians, but I'm going to be honest, I do not watch Timcast.
Which libertarian did he platform?
I don't like the show.
He's Dave, Michael Heiss, Michael Malice.
Dave, Maj, Michael Malice, Michael Heiss, Angela McArdle, Spike. Yeah. He's had a lot of libertarians on.
And
what's his name from New York?
And Jocelyn Glaybach. Jocelyn Glaybach, the redheaded libertarian, who
and
literally lied about me. Literally lied about me in order to try and deplatform me.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
she lied.
I don't know this story,
so here's the thing. This happened a while back. She was saying that the strike on Iran made sense because conquered property is legitimate, and she said that to somebody who was like an anarchist friend of mine who was challenging her on her views on property and her conservative bullshit. She wrote at the time 2 articles for a place called Human Events. And Human Events, those
with
2 articles,
I believe.
Yeah, and Human Events, the 2 articles she wrote. The first one was defending the NFL coach who got super deluxe massages, and then the other one was defending Larry Elder, I think his name is, the guy who talked to KKK members.
Larry
about
Elder?
I think if I remember correctly. What?
I know they call him the blackface of white supremacy. I don't know how true those rumors are. I know he's talked to people.
Larry Bird, not Larry Elder.
Yeah, Larry Bird. So basically, she talked about him in a positive light, and she like talked about that NFL coach, and she had her like actual legal name attached to her articles. She put that there. Nobody else did that for her. And when she put that there, when she put her own name on her own articles, I went off on her because I said, "Oh, Human Events. That's Reagan's favorite newspaper. That's what he would read religiously every single day, and he would read very little other than Human Events. It's that old." And when Reagan would read this paper, it would inform his policy ideas, and also. The time when she got hired was after Ian Miles Chung, a well-known liar, grifter, and doxer, who also swatted people because he's a punk-ass little bitch.
Yes, Ian Miles Chung is a notorious swatter.
And so after he became the managing editor of that newspaper, the guy who actually ran it, yes.
So he's the head of Human
Yes. After that happened,
no idea what the
after
fuck.
that happened, the guy who ran it said he was looking for feisty MAGA types. And not too long later, this Trump-ass little bitch, Jocelyn Glaybach, the redheaded libertarian, jumps on board. And she gets like these 2 pieces out. She's only ever done 2 pieces of content of any sort of depth. And Tim Pool has her on his show. And this was after I had called her Jocelyn publicly after she had started to come after
We're losing you.
After she had started to come after me. And the reason the reason she came after me was because I started to talk about Human Events, about Ian Miles Chung, about all of this stuff associated with like the conservative bullshit she was spewing. And so she started to say that I was the source of her hate, despite having a ton of hate before I even started talking about it. I was explaining the hate. I wasn't saying that, like, go after her or something. All I was saying is that she's going to, like, delete some tweets or, backpedal or whatever, and that she's a feisty MAGA type working for Human Events, Reagan's favorite newspaper. And after saying all this, she accused me of being the source of the hate, which already got me a bunch of hate coming my way. And then when I called her Jocelyn, she claimed I doxed her for using the name.
Like it called her Jocelyn? I don't get it. Is that her real name?
Yes,
it is her real name. The real name she really put on her real articles.
So she puts her real name by her articles.
Yes, and then she accused me of doxing her. Because
for calling
I told her by the and then so after
cringe.
all of that, she got some threats to her family allegedly that totally couldn't have been a bot that she created on Facebook, and she blamed me for that too. She blamed me for everything, all of it, all the time, and she consistently did this despite having shared some redheaded libertarian content on her fucking normal page with her name attached to it, which was already public. Everybody knew she was Jocelyn Glaybach. I didn't change anything, but she lied about me. And this chick who lied about me, who is a conservative grifter lying about being libertarian, who is a regular Trump bootlicking copsucker, this chick gets on Tim Pool's Timcast as a libertarian. And she gets to gloss over all these issues. He doesn't challenge anything she says because he's a right-wing cuck. And because he has a receding hairline and he's jealous of mine. And the entire thing is just designed to push conservative bullshit. Timcast is terrible. Tim Pool is terrible.
I don't
platforms
like
grifters.
Well, he also platforms all types. We named 6 libertarians, real and platforms. And I'm not saying he hasn't brought on people on his podcast that had bad views and he didn't call out. That is true. Joe Rogan's done the same thing with certain people.
I don't love Timcast. I just think that I don't like Timcast. I just watch sometimes when he has really good libertarians on. And I will say, most of the time when he has really good libertarians on, they get a shit ton of hate for not bowing down to the Trump.
Yeah, Dave Smith did last time he went on there, dude. Dave Smith went at it.
Dave Smith and Maj Touré got so much hate for going hard on Yemen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was great. It was great,
honestly. He was calling Temple out. Like, he was like, dude, Trump's not the the lesser of two evils. This guy's just as equally bad as Obama. He's drone strike, because everyone wants to push the conspiracy that Trump was anti-war, and sort of be that in his policy he was anti-war, right? Hey, he wasn't, and he was he continued the same geopolitical aggression that Obama did, that Bush did, that Clinton did, that Reagan did, and going back even further than that. And he has associations with some people from the World Economic Forum. Let's say that. There's a lot of theories out there, but we know before he became president, he was giving money to Clinton's campaign in, what was it, 2008? I think he'd given money to Democrats. So, I mean, listen, I don't think the guy is a good guy. I think the Democrats lie extensively about him. They lie so much it has become, like Trump derangement syndrome, I guess is the term for that. They just keep lying about him because they hate him. I don't like the guy either. But if you criticize someone for something that isn't true, and then everyone's like, oh, that guy didn't do that. Oh, that guy didn't do that. Then people start to think, well, maybe he is right, without even looking at the actual facts. They just start to accept it. Well, they're attacking this guy, therefore he must be against the machine. And I just don't think he is against the machine. And again, the drone strikes, the red flag laws, the banning of bump stocks, the saying you're for quantitative easing, printing $9 trillion in 2020. I repeat, $9 trillion by every stretch of the imagination. Not is he only not a libertarian, he is not a conservative. He didn't conserve anything. So it's like, at what point do you call this guy a modern liberal? I mean, that's what he would be. He could go in the Democratic Party. They'd support him. And they know if he was over there in 2016, and tell me if you disagree with this. If he was on the Democratic platform in 2016 and won, which is highly unlikely because they have that platform really controlled. The Republicans are controlled as well, but they have that shit on lock. But if he won, you don't think they would champion Donald Trump as a liberal?
Would.
He would be one of the liberals out there. I mean, he was the first president to openly support gay marriage and the LGBTQ. Take it for what it's worth, but he actually said that, and he came out and he said that conservatives need to stop being, like anti-gay, anti-homosexual, and all that stuff. So again, he's socially liberal and he's economically liberal. Like he's not. I can't get around the fact that this guy is considered a conservative. I just can't. It's just insane to me.
And not for nothing, but conservative cucks like Jocelyn Glaybach, she tweeted when he started to do all that shit with money printing, she tweeted, did he just end the Fed? Because he consolidated Federal Reserve and mint powers. That's not a good thing! All you conservative cunts.
So she doesn't even know what she's talking about, essentially.
She sucks, honestly.
Tim Pool had her on because she has tits and Tim Pool is shallow.
I don't know.
No, that's a huge part of it. She's attractive, and that's a huge part of her popularity. But also,
I don't know about that, but that would make sense. So she's essentially
she just doesn't challenge him. She lets him say all kinds of stupid shit and never pushes back on it.
Yeah. I did see that. That's what I noticed the last time she went on the show, was that she didn't seem to really have any strong principled libertarian views. She just essentially agreed with Tim Pool on all of his standpoints that are more libertarian leaning, and then on everything else just sort of accepted. And one of I think the dangerous things about Timcast, right? Obviously, it's good that he's platforming all these people. Some of them I don't like, but that way you can hear their views and see who they are, like Steve Bannon and all these other guys who, were banned or suspended. Alex Jones being a good example. He's had on, I can't tell you how many, but countless China hawks. Just neocons and neoliberals. Like, so many. It's like every episode I watch now. I watch his podcast, watch every podcast he puts out. I don't necessarily watch front to beginning because he has on guests. I want to hear who these guests are. I want to hear their policy standpoints and, what they think. But he's had on China hawks over and over again where they're just like, China's the biggest, gravest threat to our democracy. We need to preemptively attack China with cyber warfare and that China's trying to get us. It's like, dude, China hasn't invaded a country since Vietnam in 1979, right? They haven't, haven't gone into the Middle East and completely destroyed it and then call that democratizing and try and rebuild another foreign country upon a culture which they know nothing about. They didn't bomb Syria. They didn't bomb Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia. I mean, go to Sudan. You go down the list of countries we've not only bombed, but we democratize, which means we overthrow their government, and we think that we can just go into these places and sort of cement our culture as though that's going to work in the first place. It's like, it's never worked. You don't go to another people and, completely get rid of all their values and culture. By the way, that it's a lot of it in, these countries are religious, and religious as they be, they're very deep rooted. They go back thousands of years. It's not easy. But the point is like, China is not the biggest threat. I mean, is it a threat to some degree? I mean, yes. I think the American government and
what's the real threat is that the globalists want to mirror China.
Yes, exactly. Justin Trudeau. I wish I could have the worst control. Said that.
The worst threat that China, the worst threat to the average American posed by China is the example that they are providing to Western governments.
And of course, the fact that and here's the other thing. Like you say, you all say, "Oh, this won't work. This won't work. It won't work." And then the thing is, TikTok is the most popular app on the fucking planet, and it literally is sending the data back to the CCP. Yeah. If people are willing to sacrifice all their freedom for a few likes on TikTok, give them a UBI. Holy shit!
All right, well,
they will definitely say yes to that. And also, by the way, just one thing before we move on. Jocelyn will definitely try to strike this video down, but she'll fail like she did my video about the situation because she will call this video a privacy violation and try to get YouTube to take it down. So
here's the thing. I haven't listened to her enough to have an opinion, but I will say this. I think it's interesting, but like we're talking about all elections are stolen.
Yeah, we were talking about China hawks
and the Democrats complain. Yeah, the Democrats complain, oh my God, it was rigged. And then the Republicans are now complaining it was rigged. Now there's this midterm stuff. Yet you have criminal mastermind Klaus Schwab saying, I infiltrate your cabinets. I put my people in there. No one's like,
about it publicly.
And Time Magazine literally admitted that there was a massive conspiracy in the media.
Yeah. Like he's like, yeah.
Trudeau cabinet, he put in there. He said that on record.
Yeah.
Half the cabinet is young global.
Okay, yeah. Like, no election interference there. It's not like the WF controls your politicians. Like literally, it seems to me if you vote Republican or Democrat, you're gonna get the WEF. If you vote Green or Libertarian, you won't. But yeah.
I actually have to bounce because there's a lot I have to do tonight, and I work tomorrow.
And I have to bounce soon as well because I got to put out another video before I go to sleep, so that I've got my 2 video quota met today.
All right, sounds good.
You well.
Hey, thanks for putting the show on.
Yeah, come back on, man. We're going to have another discussion.
Awesome. See you soon, guys. Bye-bye.
Later.
So, real quick, let's wrap it up with this. I kind of want to ask you guys both this question. How could I word it? I want to word it in... Okay, so...
By the way, your mic is really fuzzy. I don't know what that is.
It's probably... my headphones died, so it's different headphones. Probably not good.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. What do you guys think is... Let's just say, I think I know I'm trying to ask a question, but it's like every answer is the state, the federal government, the WEF. I already know the answer. I already know what you're going to say. Okay, essentially, I'll say this. How big of a threat do you think China is to, I don't know, American stability or American, like, genuinely, what do you think?
Currently, pretty huge because, A, they're a huge stock of computer parts. They're a huge stock of batteries in general. Like fucking Western car companies rely on their lithium ion and their fucking their chipsets and all this shit. All these elite gamers over here need them for their gaming computer parts. Professionals need them for that. The entire financial sector. That's one of the great things about being like okay with pissing people off, because I can just say, hey, all you chuckle fucks against goddamn cryptocurrencies, why are you not against the banking sector who already uses the same exact hardware that the cryptocurrency will use? Oh, but it's different then. No, it's not, cunt. And so, like, all of that, like the entire Western system relies on tech from China currently, and that could change.
And a lot of our medicine as well. I think like 90% of it actually comes from China.
Yeah, and a lot of the manufacturing, because, oh no, in an economic depression, we can't afford to get out of bed with Chinese businessmen, no matter the sweatshops, the Uyghurs, the whatever thing you want to insert.
iPhones and Nikes, those are made in literal, you can't say slave, because you can say slave, but essentially they're getting paid like 10 cents a day. Something crazy that's way under the UN's model for absolute poverty. So, yeah, we're literally...
And all these like influencer companies who like, Instagram, TikTok post, oh, it's so fabulous, Shine, fucking all of them. They're all taking goods from China. If China pulled out directly and immediately, it would collapse the U.S. economy and theirs, which is the reason that they haven't yet. But they could if they wanted to, if they just wanted a kamikaze.
I think they will. So the great Kareem, did you have anything to say?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, everything he said is correct. It depends how you assess a threat. Kinetically, probably not. Propaganda-wise, yes, because of TikTok, because they infiltrated media, because of a lot of the Confucian schools that Jeremy didn't mention that are here, which I'm not a Confucianist, I'm more of a Taoist myself, and the communist professors and the intellectual professors they have in our universities who are authoritarian. And I'm not talking about Bakunin's.
They send over here, like they literally send over literal spies to infiltrate academia. There's been multiple.
And of course, they have their own police here, stationed in like parts of the country, and it's totally just so that they can help people out. They just want to help their citizens out with integration.
What is that? You mean, like, I don't get that. How can they have a police station here?
Because it's the same kind of thing as the U.S. having embassies literally everywhere. They just put their people places.
I've heard about
to help control that.
Their people, or like, you know what I mean?
Their people. Like, they're their people. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's scary.
So, yeah, and that's the issue. And when I say like these professors, I'm not talking about Bakunin or Malatesta, which Enrico Malatesta, I'm still trying to figure out what I think of him, but like Rudolph Rocker, like not like that, like authoritarians. The police station is correct. I've heard about that. So that is a significant threat. What I will say, though, is there's a doco out now that's showing directly what governments are doing to their own citizens. That's a bigger threat because you can see what they do to their own citizens in the doco. So let's say
suddenly something is happening suddenly.
Something is happening suddenly, yes. And here's what I'll say. China's a threat, but you have to look at threats in front of you before you look threats to the other side. If your neighbor's going to cause problems, you want to handle that before you handle somebody to state.
Threats in you first. The best way to start all of this, building a good personal foundation. Sorry, I just had to say that.
I agree. I don't disagree with that, but I think we need to handle the problems in front of us first, which are the state and the federal things, and then China, then the WTF.
Like, before those problems, like, just for the individual to just, like Jordan Peterson says, make your bed, which you got that from the Navy SEAL quote. But my point is, like, just simple little things like that, or maybe you just start going to city council meetings. Like, the really
clean and sober and fit and eat healthy.
Sober, mentally stable. Fit is obvious because
mentally stable.
Exercise is one of the only things we know that improves biomarkers without you having to lose weight. It's one of the only things, meaning that you can just exercise every day. You don't lose a single pound, and you'll still be at a lower chance to have a cardiovascular attack, a lower chance of diabetes, even if you don't lose weight. So exercise is one of the, if not the only methodology we have to extending life.
No, that's not true. I mean, Dr. Sinclair, can we not interrupt me? Dr. Sinclair and Andrew Huberman, and I do have a little bit myself from Alive from Science. Even if the FDA bans it, I'll find a way. But NAD and NMN are in concentrated form.
NAD?
Yeah, to me, I'm still testing this. NAD and NMN plus something called alpha AKG, alpha kegoglutarate, I think it is.
This stuff is really good.
yeah, it does help extend lifespan from what I can see. I'm about to get this thing called Novos Boost and Novos Core and take NMN in that and see if it helps. I'm not saying it does. I'm not making medical claim. I just think that is a way to extend lifespan.
I'm just saying, like just by itself, like those will help, and along with exercise, they'll really help. You'll definitely improve your lifespan. But if you just do those things and you don't work out, you know,
all that stuff will help and does help, and it's also bioavailable in food. You don't need to buy supplements.
Well, that's another thing, right? Have people grow their own food. Like people need to learn.
I mean, put a garden in your front yard instead of a lawn.
If every libertarian in this country had a garden, we could all share gardens. You know, theoretically, because there's libertarians. I mean, there's not a lot, but in every county, there's got to be at least 2 libertarians, right? You think? So if everyone had a garden, I mean, and it's funny too, because when you think about that, that really sounds more communal than anything else. When you think about sharing, you know, vegetables and growing.
Mutual aid, direct action, horizontal economy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. And filtering your water, because they're putting chemicals in the water that lower your testosterone. I'll say the actual thing, not the crazy. But yeah, there are problems with birth control gets flushed down the water. There's issues with water. So you don't gotta go crazy, but a little bit of a water filter, growing your own vegetables. And also, if you want to go crazy, there's things like red light therapy, cold plunges.
Sauna is amazing. Do the sauna.
I identify as a crazy American, and I want you to know that I'm triggered by your constant insistence of not being crazy. I'm fine.
You need to be a little crazy to survive on this planet, but not only because the craziness will save you, like just from a evolutionary biological standpoint, people will be less to pick with you. When people know you're crazy, when people know you're aggressive, when people know you're not afraid of confrontation, you're less likely to get into some sort of alteration where someone's just going to go around hitting you because you're not weak. But you also need to be dangerous, and you need to be crazy because this entire planet is crazy. It doesn't make sense, right? There's so much atrocities that go on such a mass scale, right? You kind of have to be a little psycho, especially if you're creating something too. Like you have to be a little crazy, because craziness, and it's such a vague term, but creativity comes from a lot of craziness, right? And pain and suffering. So that's essentially what you're all talking about, right? Like the sauna, the cold plunge, all these things are, have a hermetic effect. We're putting our body in a state of stress, right? Because maybe someone didn't, have a bad childhood like I did. So they need a sort of internal thing to have stress in their lives. And that stress really does help.
Yeah. Catalyst. And I'll add one more thing, and then people will get mad at me. Kale is bullshit. I do really like what Dr. Saladino says. And yeah, he's a little over the top where he's just like going in supermarkets without his shirt. I don't recommend that. But like raw milk, getting things like, I do like these.
I love those.
Organs. Yeah. Getting organic. There is a difference. Getting organic raised. And he breaks it down. He actually broke it down like chickens that in organic range. Yes, they still eat grass. I know Jeremy's going to say something. Do they eat grass and corn? Yeah, but they have more room to move. So they're healthier. They eat bugs and worms. The same thing with cows, more room to move. So the beef's high quality.
Yeah.
Dr. Saladino said it.
So maybe just say like free range or something instead of organic and grass fed, which everything is.
Okay, fine.
I mean, we're
yeah, he breaks it down. Like, I need to get butcher box once I make, thing.
You just need to contact your local butcher instead of relying on something that's probably overpriced. I've never seen good prices at Butcher Box.
Yeah, he's right on that. So what I do is, here's a tip for anyone out there, and also you train, I'm a cook, I'm a chef, so sometimes I'll get food to bring to the restaurant. If, something small that I'm not going to order a large case of, I'll get a couple steaks from the restaurant for a dinner special. But I'll go to the store, whatever it is, Harris Teeter, Whole Foods, Publix is really great. Whole Foods is a bit of a scam, but Publix is really good. Even, a Walmart, right? You can go to these stores. If they actually have an area where they have fresh meat being cut, they have a butcher, essentially. What you can do is you can go up to the butcher and you can ask him, is there any meat you need to get rid of that you have in mass that you need to sell because it's going to go bad? Usually, he'll say, yeah, I have this. And if you also say, hey, listen, I'm on the carnivore diet, and I just wanted to know if you could give me a discount or a deal, or we'll make something happen. Essentially, is what I'm saying. They do. They typically do help you out. Not all, obviously, not all indeed, but like it's so much of it is like networking and really fundamentally, right? And this is what Dostoevsky, Solzhenitsyn, Orwell, Huxley. This is what they all sort of were on to really early on, 30s and 40s. Truth and kindness are the bedrock of a stable society, right? Being truthful, telling someone, hey, I have this, it would really greatly benefit me if you do this for me, if you give me this service or a product, and being honest. And that truth, I'm telling you, if truth is at the basis of every human interaction, society is not only stable, it prospers. That's where innovation is able to grow, right? It doesn't mean that that's going to happen all the time. Of course, we're going to.
And you've got to be non-contradictive, avoid hypocrisy everywhere you can.
I mean,
you've got to be true with yourself.
Because you can't. Well, if you live in a society where every single human interaction is guided by truth, everyone everywhere will tell you exactly when you're being wrong. And if everyone everywhere tells you when you're wrong, like you said, when you're hypocritical, when you're arrogant, right? You're gonna take that into, okay, I am arrogant because I know this person's telling the truth. And since they're telling the truth, therefore, I must alter myself to adjust to these changes and adaptations, right? But that can only be done in a society where truth is the bedrock. Because if it's not the bedrock, people go around like telling people, oh, you look good, when they don't look good. It's like, I get it, but no, those little white lies are actually not, they're not good for society. When your guy says, do I look good? And I don't know, his hair looks crazy. I'm usually like, dude, your hair looks crazy. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like every little lie matters.
Looks sane. Jeremy looks sane today.
I think he should cut his hair, but that's my thing.
Yeah, get a nice haircut, get some khakis, and be respectful.
I think he would look like that one guy who went on Tim Pool. Remember the guy, the cuck? Mike, what was his name?
I have something to tell you off camera about a certain Adam Krigler. Adam Krigler?
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk. Well, how about this?
A good guy. I have something to say about him, but here's the thing. If you go through truth and you look at real world examples, it's possible. Also, Chiron, which to me is an anarchist society, or it's very close, I guess. Like, I know Jeremy's going to debate me on that, but like, they don't call themselves anarchists, but talking to Luke and all those people, there's no cops, there's no mayor. They have a decentralized militia for security, and they don't have anything else. And they're able to get things done. So it is possible.
They have electoral crosstown votes for you. You have to be that elected official. They just don't.
Your mic sounds pretty quiet, by the way.
Yeah, they have a city council where people line up, and then if you're chosen, you have to participate in that council. That's about the thing. But yeah, they're pretty much anarchist. Hey, can you stop? Like, are you okay?
I was flexing the hair.
Okay, but Chiron's anarchist to me.
It's close. It's closer than we are.
Do you guys have anything you want to say or touch on before we end it?
Buy Sonic Frontiers and go to agoristnexus.com.
What about you?
If you want to keep the ideals of Murray Rothbard alive, check out the lpmisescaucus.com. You can also see me on Cream for Liberty on Twitter, Cream66 on Bastion. And if you want to connect with me, you can find me Kareem M. Mays on Facebook.
And for me, of course, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Check my Facebook page out, subscribe to me on Patreon if you want to, and also on Anchor. That's the way I can make money. YouTube doesn't monetize my videos, sadly. But the only thing I would say is that I'm going to start doing this thing where, I don't like the term book club. It just sounds kind of gay, I'm not going to lie. But something where I talk about books, I read the books, and we discuss them with the audience. So I'm going to give a book for everyone to read if you want to read it. I think this book is really good. It's a classic. But Brave New World. Check that book out. I read it twice in the last week. It got so many things right.
I don't know. With you recommending that book, man, I'm not sure. I think you haven't had enough Soma. I'm sorry.
Soma, yeah. It's a great book. It's a great book. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you.
End it.